Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's security workshop webinar. Just give me a few seconds more to, there's some more people joining. I can see joining in the process of joining, and then I'll start. Thank you. Okay, I think that's most of those people joined. So thank you very much once again for joining us today. It's my first webinar of the year. My colleague obviously did one a week or so ago. The idea of today's webinar is to renew our focus on Xyzal security products. So we're calling it the security workshop. But what we're going to do is go over our range of security products, where they fit into the various solution sets, and to introduce sort of a simplified Xyzal web security landing page, because I think sometimes our main website has got a lot of products on there, from switching, wireless security, Nebula, and so on and so forth. So actually finding the security specific side of things can be a little bit difficult at times. So towards the end of the webinar, I'm just going to show you our revised security landing page and how it can help in quite a simplified way, just to understand the devices, make your choice of device, so on and so forth. With regards to the slides on the PowerPoint, you should get sent them at the end of the presentation by our marketing team. So some slides that are maybe very product specific and that go over, say, 5 different devices which have a lot of information in them, I'm just going to go through them very quickly, because obviously you can look at them when you get the slide. There's no point in me going over all the numbers each time. So I'll get started. Thank you very much once again, and here we go. So one of the things we've realized is that a lot of our resellers and our resellers end users aren't really aware that Xyzal has been around for quite a while in the networking and security space. So we're making quite an effort this year to emphasize our longevity in the marketplace, give you access to some of the slides that show our history, show our awards, and so on and so forth. For many years, we've been regarded as a really good, best solution in the small to medium-sized business space. There are numerous magazine reviews, online version of those magazine reviews. We have long-term relationships with various labs that do security product testing, and places like IT Pro magazine in the UK, and also other magazines and websites throughout the world. But we do have a really long involvement in internet security. So once again, reviews, pictures, and so on and so forth. So obviously, hopefully you can take these slides yourself, use them with your customers, help your salespeople get up to speed as well. One of the key things that we do need to point out is not just security, but we have a complete end-to-end network product set. So obviously we've got the security devices in the different spaces, which I'm just about to go through. But obviously we've got wireless solutions, wired LAN connectivity solutions. Obviously, we do gateways as well from the DSL point of view, GPON and DSLAM fiber access, DSL copper access and GPON fiber access. We also do LTE, 4G and 5G routers. And we have a complete set of network management products, reporting products, and sort of IT network utilities to help in the firmware upgrades and testing of devices and so on and so forth. But the main point of it is that we got a single vendor that you can come to for a complete end-to-end solution. So what we're doing now with the security products going forward this year, we're coming up with this sort of look and feel of Xyzal network security products, and I'll show you this in relation to the website later on. But obviously, we're showing the strength of our network security products. Obviously they're there to protect businesses, particularly in the SMB space. That's where we feel our strengths are. We're not an enterprise network security company. Our strengths are definitely in the SMB space, where we're giving smaller customers, smaller resellers, smaller end users access to sort of enterprise grade security, but in the SMB space. And as I said right at the beginning, we've been doing this for 20 years. You can go on the ICSA Labs website and you can look back through all of the certification and testing of Sizewell devices, literally going back to the year dot. One of our real key strengths is that we don't pretend to be an expert in every field. We leverage long-term relationships with global companies like McAfee, Webroot, Lastline, and Trend Micro, as it says on the slide here, and we're leveraging their technology, their capabilities, properly licensing them, and then integrating them into our products, our operating system, our support environments, and so on and so forth, our cloud engines, and giving you access to, as I said, enterprise-grade security, but at a small to medium-sized business price point. So we are going out there, leveraging these top-end solutions, bringing them down, integrating them with our products and software, and coming up with a complete solution set. The next set of slides tries to help get across the various sort of functionality and features that most of the devices offer. So some of these features will be available on the really top-end devices, some of them won't, but this is just a way of describing the kind of features that your customers might be after. So this one is all to do with VPN availability, pointing out that we also have things like WAN load balancing really as a standard on our devices. So we have 2 WAN ports, so you can have one port connected to a DSL circuit or a lease line. The second WAN port can be connected to a 4G or a 5G router. So particularly, for many offices that are still open now, for instance, or even home users, obviously, if you're accessing cloud-based resources and that internet connection goes down, you potentially can't do any work. Whereas if you've got multiple internet connection options via 2 WAN ports, you can share that load balancing and have automatic failover or increased availability of bandwidth automatically. Multi-WAN and mobile broadband is just pointing out a similar thing. And the VTI comment really is just to show you that basically we're using this virtual tunnel interface as a mechanism to trunk VPNs, quite a high-end facility. The next set of features is basically to do with secure remote access. Obviously, still being able to work from home and dialing into the office network is key now, and it has been obviously for nearly the last year, unfortunately. So we offer SSL VPN remote access, which is probably the number one client remote access. Obviously you can break out of most home networks or hospitality or cafes and things like that when they're open again. So the SSL VPN is probably the most popular solution. So we have that client software available for free under Windows. There is a small client license under macOS because of some library licensing that has to take place. But SSL VPN is there by default in all the products. We also offer site-to-site VPNs using IPsec protocol suite. We also have remote access using the level 2 tunneling protocol over IPsec. And what you find with that is, for instance, like Windows 10 nowadays has that functionality built in. You can use a single line PowerShell script to create yourself a client access VPN, and you find that appears on your network center under Windows 10, and you can click it and up comes your VPN. Incredibly simple, incredibly powerful, secure access to your office, really simple. One of the things we try to do in the SMB space is to make things that are quite complicated easy to configure. So we have wizards that help you to create your VPN much more easily, so you don't have to fully understand the IPsec protocol suite, all the things like phase 1, phase 2, all the complexities taken care of in some very simple, easy to answer questions within a wizard. And obviously we're using the various more modern and robust aspects of the elements of the IPsec protocol suite. Then we move on to the sort of the higher end sort of frontline defenses that are in the UTM and top end security devices. Obviously, antivirus scanning of content that you're downloading or even uploading is a given. So that's the antivirus side of things. We can do content filtering based on our relationships with those high-end partners that I mentioned earlier on. So you can basically categorize content using a vast amount of cloud-based database. So you can work out different content, block it, control it, all that sort of thing that you would expect to do. Then we have application intelligence, which basically allows you to, categorize traffic and applications so that you can do things like, I want to characterize voice over IP traffic, give that priority over, Facebook type data usage, which could then get in the way of a telephone call or something like that. In the higher end devices we offer, we also have features like geographical enforcement. That's actually, obviously, if people have been around for a while, the IP protocol set was never designed to have geographical information in it. So there's various suppliers out there that provide geographical information on your IP address, but the geographical enforcer functionality can do what it says. So basically, sorry to pick on Russia and China, but if you don't want any access from Russian or Chinese websites, you can enable that with Geo Enforcer, and off you go. All those countries are blocked. The next set of frontline defense features are the more sort of upmarket features in our higher end devices. They're very difficult sort of zero-day threats, which are very hard to detect initially, requires a new approach, and that's where we leverage engines from Lastline and people like that, and we've got this solution called Sandbox and machine learning, which I'll go into in more detail later on. But essentially, if you've got a threat which you don't understand, you send it up to the cloud-based engine, it analyzes it, takes it apart, and if it doesn't like what it's doing, it blocks it and destroys it and passes back, a negative response to the on-premise device to say, don't allow this through. But the key point on top of not just the blocking is that it learns what that security threat was like and then communicates that information back down to all the other ATPs. So as we pick up these kind of threats on the global cloud-based solution, we can then feed it back down to the local on-premise device. We've also got botnet and malware blocker. So that's traditionally nasty sort of automated devices that are out on the internet that are controlled by some master hacker somewhere doing, trying to access illegal content behind your website and so on and so forth. The characteristics of those botnets can be learned on a global basis as well. They can be blocked. We've obviously also got the traditional UTM functionality, whereby if you see invalid protocol access, so i.e. intrusion detection, then you can activate the intrusion prevention and disable that kind of activity on your network. And there's another very useful feature in the high-end devices which has come about as a result of research into the way a lot of these sort of internet security activity goes on in real time. So if you actually track the kind of real-time threats that are going on, that actually covers a lot of the kind of current security issues. Knowing what those characteristics and attacks are like in real time means you can switch this kind of filtering system on, and you will block out a substantial number of the current live security threats just by switching that feature on. Excuse me. All of the devices also, they have on-premise Wi-Fi access point controller functionality built into it. Some people also still have a requirement for hotspot management, so particularly in caravan sites, places like that, whereby Wi-Fi is still a premium offering. You can basically offer hotspot paid for access to Wi-Fi, and that integrates into the on-premise controller devices. Then we've got other sort of network resilience type features. So if you want multiple Ethernet ports from your device, we can support that with link aggregation. We have high availability from a certain point in the devices. High availability pro basically gives you, excuse me, an active passive setup. So you can have 2 firewalls, 2 security devices. If one fails, it automatically fails over to the standby device, and that's all seamless. You won't lose connectivity, you won't lose a phone call or anything. We can do SSL packet inspection with the appropriate certificates installed. And obviously an important thing of any security device is to integrate into on-premise authentication and administrations type solutions. So you've got Active Directory, Microsoft Active Directory. We can integrate that with Radius integration. So any kind of users that are already defined on your network, the security control can link into those networks. Then we introduce a couple of new modes, which becomes relevant to the USG Flex. Obviously, perhaps quite a lot of you are, excuse me, are used to the USG model. Obviously, that's now being replaced this year by the USG Flex. But one of the improvements we've made to the USG Flex, which was already in the ATP product family, is the ability to use the cloud-based engines that are out there to improve the scan performance and so on and so forth. So what the express mode, the cloud query does is it does a hash on the local file or the local security issue, sends it over to the cloud engine, and it does the comparison against a much bigger database, and then comes back with the response. The deep scan mode is a combination of the two, and you can see how obviously the original legacy USG devices don't offer everything, but the newer device, the high-end device, the ATP does. And these slides really, we're just giving them to you so that you can characterize the kind of features that you want from a device, what the advantages are. So for instance, obviously express mode has an advantage in terms of performance because you're just doing a local hash, sending it over to the cloud engines to do the actual analysis. Obviously the disadvantage is that you must be online. So there are swings and roundabouts as ever for all kinds of solutions to problems. But these slides, these tables, these mechanisms of helping you to understand what device you should choose for your customer is where we're coming from, basically. One other important thing to point out is most of the cloud providers are now offering things like remote desktops to customers. There are a huge number of services out there that are being deployed by Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure Cloud. But all of our products are certified against like Amazon's virtual private cloud firewall solution and Microsoft Azure's firewall. So basically you can establish a VPN from your on-premise device to Amazon Web Service or your on-premise device to Microsoft Azure Cloud, so that you've got secure encrypted communication from your office or even at home to your cloud-based services. And this is the beginning in many respects of how we're trying to get across our solutions to our resellers this year in terms of slightly different look and feel. You'll see this look and feel on the website in a minute as well. So what we're saying is we have three quite distinct product sets. It starts from a simplicity point of view, i.e. the VPN series. Then we move on to the flexibility, which is the USG Flex series. And then we move on to the ultimate top end, which is the ATP series. Now, the simplicity side of things is just a VPN device, so a traditional firewall VPN device without UTM characteristics. If you want more sophisticated scanning and content control, antivirus and things like that, obviously then you move on to the USG Flex family. The whole point of the Flex in it is to get across its flexibility, which I'll come to that in a minute. And then if you want the ultimate features, then you move on to the ATP series. So there's obviously a left to right improvement in network security features, but there is still a requirement for a straightforward, simple VPN device, as is the requirement for an ultimate, the most secure device. So we cover all angles and all bases. In a second. So the other thing we tried to do more is to have a feature set table against the device type and family, and then you can see the device model. So it's the VPN, USG Flex, or the ATP, and then the particular model number. And obviously the features in black circles are either available or included in the bundle. The optional features tend to be the round without that without the black filled in. But you can see what the features are, so you can go along, look at a feature that your customer requirement has mandated. So it might be that they want, for instance, the highest end 0-day type protection. So you'd look at sandboxing, potentially IP reputation, and even DNS reputation, move along, and that is only provided by the ultimate ATP solution. So that would mandate that you investigate the ATP solution and scale it against your customer's requirement. So after we've got those kind of simple 3-element choices, we then move on to an initial view of the simplicity model range, the VPN series, and then obviously we emphasize individual points that are unique to that particular product family. What we're saying here on the VPN series, obviously, that, as I mentioned earlier, they have wireless controller, access point controller functionality. The VPN series also has an individual license for content filtering. So although it's just a firewall and VPN, there has been a requirement to put content filtering in to block out malicious websites. So that is available as an option, content filtering on the VPN family. And obviously when you reach a certain level, we offer device high availability on them as well. So you can have a high availability VPN solution excuse me, for maybe you're using it in a data center. Everybody is concentrating into the data center, so you want to make sure you know that's a high availability setup. Then we move on to the flexibility range, the so-called USG Flex range. That one of the things to point out on this is that basically this is a newly released product set. It's been out now for about 3 to 4 months, and the complete range of devices is now fully available from the 100 to the 700. It's got substantially higher performance with a new hardware platform and functionality. Once again, the slide is there to show you what is available straight away. As it says, the enhanced UTM. I'm going to go through the list of features in a minute, but these are the kind of slides that you can go to your customers again, and hopefully it's quite clear as to what they offer. And then you move on to the Ultimate series, and then it tends to list some features that are obviously not applicable to the previous one. So this has sandboxing, it has the URL threat filter, the so-called botnet filter, so on and so forth. So we give a very brief overview, an individual slide per family, and then we move on to the focused series of slides, which hopefully would help you with your discussions with your customers. So this one is the Simplicity series again. There's the VPN devices, give you a full list of functionality. So I'm going to go through it a little bit quicker now because obviously you're seeing a certain element of repetition. But what we do on the slides is obviously one of the choices is, well, which model suits my customer's requirements? So that could be based on the network capacity, the amount of stateful packet inspection, so the sort of the firewalling rate that it needs to achieve. If it's a UTM device coming later on, what's its UTM throughput? How much VPN traffic can it support? And obviously the number of interfaces it has. So how many WAN interfaces, how many LAN interfaces, and how many of those interfaces are demilitarized zones. And obviously, does it if it supports wireless LAN controller functionality. Sorry about my voice. I've just lost my voice a few days ago. One of the key things about all these slides is all the models are on there in a fairly simplified way. So hopefully it'll help you look at the capacity, look at the feature requirement, make the appropriate choice. And we're doing that for all of the models. So basically, we're trying to give as much information now to help you choose the right device, choose the right feature set, and then obviously there's some competitive information as well. So one of the things over these next slides, which I'm going through really quickly because you're going to get them, but as you can see, you can look at a particular competitive device, you can compare that to the appropriate performance of the Zyxel device. So here we have the VPN 100, VPN 300, so on and so forth. So we're trying to give out a lot more information to help show you the strength of our devices, how all the features are there, how they compare against the competition, how, for instance, in this one, is the feature licensed, is it included, is it bundled, and so on and so forth, just to show you how competitive our solutions are, because I think sometimes people haven't realized. So we put a lot more effort into just making that initial sale and engagement a lot more constructive. So that was a very quick view through the VPN series. Then we move on to the USG Flex. Once again, we're emphasizing the high performance because it's a new hardware platform. We basically got much, well, the phrase there is enhanced UTM. There were some characteristics in the previous USG where it wouldn't include certain filtering lists. Now that's taken care of. Globally, we have a relationship with, it essentially comes from the Metropolitan Police. So we now have the counter-terrorism links in place. So that basically means you should be able to pass any school internet security test suites that are out there. Once again, wireless controller, device high availability. One of the things that's important to point out if you are a Nebula aware person, as you can see in here, there's a bit of a hint in the name. USG Flex is basically saying this is one of our Nebula Flex type solutions, so it can be managed standalone or it can be managed under Nebula. The Nebula integrated management is due out round about late March. So if you are an NSG user, you might like to contact us and discuss really using the USG Flex product in advance of that. But just bear in mind that basically USG Flex is now out and that will become our go-to Nebula gateway over time. Once again, there's an emphasis on the express mode type performance improvements. Why that is the case, why you're getting double that performance. As I said, we're leveraging cloud engines, sending the queries over to a vastly more powerful cloud-based solution, the response from that security analysis is then sent back to the on-premise device. And the whole point of these type of features, which there's a little bit more detail on the next slide, individual models, what the feature's called, how it works, what its advantages are. The key thing probably to get across beyond what's on the slide is that rather than have an absolutely massive on-premise device, so perhaps a huge server that's got to be having plenty of disk storage, a lot of processing power and so on and so forth to maintain and store all the kind of heuristics databases, we are leveraging a sensibly scaled on-premise network security device, which is inherently linked into Zyzor's cloud-based security engines. So the on-premise device is looking at the stream of data coming through it, performing a hash on the file transfer or the website activity that's going on, sending the hash up to the Cloud Engine. The Cloud Engine is looking at that, comparing it with the various feature sets that you've licensed, and responding back, positive or negative. And then within that Cloud Engine, because it's working at a global level, it learns from all of the security issues that you are scanning and then feeds that back down to all the other ATPs or USG flexes. So any newly learned security threat over a relatively short period of time is fed back to all of the other ATPs and so on and so forth. And you can choose your mode of working, so express mode or deep scan mode, depending on obviously your requirements. So maybe you haven't got an internet circuit online, so you would use a slightly different, you'd have to update the signatures regularly, but basically you would use a different type of solution for some of these offerings. One of the things we have done with testing of these modes is that it's a huge increase in UTM performance using the new hardware, using the cloud-based engines and so on and so forth. And this is a useful table if you are a current USG user or an old USG user, and how you can see that the firewalling and the UTM rates on the new platform is substantially higher. So as you can see, it's a firewalling performance is more than double, and UTM scanning performance using the flexible cloud-based engine is way, way, way higher. Also without the associated cost increase. So now you move on to, just like we have done with the simple VPN devices, simple series of pictures and columns which show you all the different devices, what the characteristics are, throughputs and network links and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go through these quite quickly. What I would say as well is obviously there's always a competitive aspect to things. So we are trying to give guidance from a migration point of view, guidance from a competitive product set, so on and so forth. So on here, we've just put a simple table on, which is if you do use the NSG, what would that map to in terms of the USG Flex? And then also, if you are a USG user, where would you migrate to in terms of the USG Flex? So it's all taken care of in these tables. You'll get the slides. So nice and easy, nice and straightforward. Then the other thing we need to explain to people, really, if you've already got USG devices out there and you want to migrate, this is our explanation of how the licensing is being migrated from the USG series to the USG Flex devices. So what we're trying to do is make it very simple to upgrade a USG device to, say, a USG Flex device, and to migrate any existing active security service license that is already on your USG device. So you look at all the features that are licensed on your USG. So for instance, in this one, the web content filtering has got 7 months left. We then flatten that and say all of the licensing is 7 months. Then when you go and get a USG Flex device with a bundle, which comes with obviously 12 months of licensing, we would then add the 7 months outstanding from your USG device across all of the license features, and then you would get 19 months, so essentially for free. This is just an emphasis once again about going from USG to USG Flex, so made nice and simple. And then what we can do is move on to the competitive nature of things as well. So once again, what does the USG Flex 100 compete against? And you can see the firewall throughput, you can see the number of sessions supported, so on and so forth. So you can look at your you can look at your competition. You can understand what your customers' requirements are, and if you're used to maybe a Sonic core, you can say, well, we can offer you the new Zizor USG Flex 100, more competitive. Come up with an upgrade option, all kinds of things. So we've got all these comparison tables now in the slides to help you. There we go. So for each device, as I said, it's a simple overview, more detailed information, competitive side of it for each of the 3 families. So you can cut the slides out to what you want as and when. Final set are the ultimate product family, which is the ATP series. Once again, features that are unique to that are on the screen, like sandboxing and URL threat filter. And then I think one of the things about the ATP is, how do you go beyond the UTM side of things? Because obviously it is a UTM, but you could say it's a UTM on steroids or UTM++, so on and so forth. And what the ATP is doing is going beyond those current well-known methods of internet security, so security signatures, heuristics, and so on and so forth, and using and leveraging sophisticated engines from top-end enterprise-grade suppliers to deal with some of the more difficult the zero-day threats, basically. So threats that you don't actually know have been announced yet. So strange behaviors and so on and so forth. So what the traditional UTM model does, it obviously knows via signatures and heuristics and certain reputation methods what files or what data patterns are known to be good, what are probably good, and obviously viruses that are known about, they're the so-called known bad and the very suspicious. And then what we do is there's an area in the middle that is, well, if this could be okay, it could be very suspicious, or literally we don't know. And so what the sandboxing solutions do with the ATP is that, so the area in the middle, we send that particular threat over to our cloud engine, this so-called sandbox. And what it does, it takes apart the suspicious traffic within a controlled sandbox, which is essentially an area that you can take things apart and it has no consequences. It's not your laptop that's running an attached executable or anything like that. So these cloud intelligence engines, as the text shows you, basically it analyzes the incoming threats, and in real time, it compares them against other suspicious activity that it's seen. There's perhaps a slightly more useful graphic coming up here. So the threat comes in, the unknown threat comes in, it gets looked at within the sandbox. So perhaps it extracts the files within the zip file. It then looks at those files and thinks, well, that behavior just doesn't make any sense. So you would never see perhaps a PDF file trying to change the password on an account. That's just ridiculous. A PDF file is just a document of a report, and you want to print it out. So why would a printed out document try to change a password? So it looks at what the file would try to do within the sandbox environment, and then actions the output of that, basically running the file within the sandbox. So if it tries to do something dodgy, it says clearly that's wrong and it's a potential malicious attack, and it sends it off to be destroyed. If it's happy with it, then it can be returned. The signature of that attack is also recorded and goes into the database. So the next time you see it, the heuristics mechanism will pick it up straight away. So the whole point of these kind of cloud-based solutions perhaps is not necessarily obvious. So at a global level, all of the security attacks that devices are experiencing are being sent up to this global ecosystem, which can then analyze them, synchronize them across the various engines, and learn from them immediately, and then feed them back down and proactively secure on-premise networks. There's a positive ecosystem in this, and these are not simple things. These are not simple engines to develop and secure and so on and so forth. So we're basically leveraging one of the well-known market leaders in this space, which is supplied by a company called Lastline. And this is, if you have a look at where they are in the Gartner quadrant, so they are way up there in terms of their security effectiveness, one of the highest level of effectiveness companies. You can see beyond Cisco and Check Point. But the way we've done it, by leveraging it, licensing on our customers' behalf and integrating it across hundreds of thousands of devices, we are offering an enterprise grade security solution, but in our market space, which is the SMB space. So then what we do once again is show you each of the devices and what their features are. One of the things that's slightly different about the ATP and its licensing, excuse me, it comes with what we term a gold security pack license. So basically all the features are in that license, and it's bundled with the ATP. So when you buy it, the solution is licensed for 1 year. You're going to buy additional year and additional multi-year licenses on top of that. But that's why it's got there in the description, includes the 1 year gold security pack. There is no option to buy a device without the security pack as there is in the USG Flex. You can buy USG Flex in a device only mode if you want to break out the licensing features. But the ATP, the whole point of the ATP being the ultimate, is that all of the internet security features should be applied to securing your customers or your own network for that matter. So once again, as I said, the pictures and the columns are showing all the different devices, all the different rates, so on and so forth. And then once again, as you see, a similar kind of description for the competition matrix. Here we go, so ATP 100. And as I said, I'm just going through these quickly because I know you're going to get the slides, but you can compare all the features, throughputs, the number of VPN tunnels, so on and so forth, and make your choice basically, all in the slides. So hopefully this will be a great help. Then the final sort of range of products type of slide is just coming up. One of the things that if you've ever used firewalls and you've seen how much noise they can make in terms of logging and alerting and so on and so forth, they can produce a vast amount of information. And really you need a sort of analytics and reporting platform to actually make sense of what's going on in your networks. So obviously, as a reseller, what you can do, we have a platform called Secure Reporter. So you need a Secure Reporter license that comes as part of the ATP Gold license. If you've got a USG Flex with the bundled license, that comes with a 1 year Secure Reporter license as well. And obviously, if you want a Secure Reporter for the VPN series, you need to buy an individual license for the VPN series. But this is a multi-tenant reporting platform. So basically, all of the information comes from the devices, and you can basically send it up into the platform. It's coming up in another slide. And there's a central place where you can analyze and report and alert and have a visualized view of what's going on your firewalls in terms of maybe how many attacks you've got coming in, where it's coming from. Very, very useful to actually understand what's going on your network security landscape. So this is a simple view of actually what it's doing. So it's taking log data, application data from all the scanning and the security data scanning, feeding that up to the Secure Reporter cloud-based platform. There's also analytics going on all of that data. So your time is being normalized, data is being extracted, no user data, I would point out. And obviously then we're applying visualization to that analytics, and you can search and so on and so forth. And then it all goes into and analyzed via Secure Reporter. And there's a dashboard in there, so you've got an initial overview, and then you can start drilling down, so on and so forth. It's really good at producing reports. So one of the key things perhaps is to report back to your IT director or finance controller or whatever. What are these security devices actually offering us? Well, in the last month, it's detected a few thousand network probes. It's captured a whole load of virus attachments that have been sent to us. You can also pick up alerting. So if there is a particular user perhaps that seems to be causing a large amount of antivirus positive scans to be picked up, you might want to go and have a chat with that user and say, what's going on? Why are you doing that? Which is really where the next slide comes in. So these kind of platforms, they're very good about answering the who, the what, the so-called who, the what, and the when. So who is doing something, what exactly are they doing, and when did they do it. So using Security Reporter, you can drill into the data from a visual point of view, find out what is going on your network. So, what kind of threats am I seeing? Are they lots of attachments, or am I seeing a lot of network scans? Or are my users that are browsing the internet, are they bringing down or going to websites that have got attacks within the websites? Obviously, the websites themselves can be hacked quite innocently, and then you browse a particular web page, and down comes a virus or a particular nasty attack pattern. So, with the appropriate level of configuration, one of the things that Security Reporter does, it allows IT managers and obviously security managers to spot, and not necessarily, don't accuse a user of being guilty of anything, but basically try and help educate them and understand why their general user behavior is causing risks to a company. So you can do that kind of analysis with events and traffic and user actions that might be causing virus alerts to come down, so on and so forth. And then educate your users, or if the appropriate policies and procedures are in place to clearly potentially discipline them, I guess. As I said, if you are an MSP or a reseller and you're offering services or security services to your end users, this is a multi-tenant platform. So from a single cloud platform, you can go in, select the appropriate client. You can centrally see the visibility of the threats and so on and so forth. As I said, it's a scalable solution. There's no real limit to it. All you need is the Security Reporter license for each device. One of the really useful things for any kind of reporting environment that has reports and analytics and so on and so forth, and an alert, is that you can basically customize the reports, customize the alerts so that you've got templates. You can use the templates as they are, or you can customize them. You can put your own branding on it, so your company name, your icons, and so on and so forth. So you can create a service that looks like your IT resellers or IT service provider's name. And it's sent from Security Reporter in that customized way. And they can go to clients once a month, once a week, or whatever. But one of the things that I've always found useful, and a lot of my customers have always liked, is that obviously sometimes it's hard to engage with the end user, but you can use the reports as part of a service as a reason to ring them and engage and just say, it's a once a month call that we put in to go over your reporting environment, see what threats you're experiencing, see if there's any additional services that we can offer. Maybe the actual internet link throughput is being saturated, upgrade the circuit, see what antivirus is going on. Talk to them about, clearly your endpoint protection is perhaps not good enough on laptops and desktops. There's something wrong with your virus detection system. So it's a way of communicating positively back to your customer and reminding them that, quietly in the background, you are protecting them. There's a reason why there's a monthly service fee, so on and so forth. But it is a very good engagement point. The other thing we need to point out is obviously compliance from a privacy point of view, personal information. As I said, we don't send up any actual customer data, but obviously you can have different levels of anonymity. So they can be non-anonymous, so you can actually, a particular data transfer or virus can be associated with a user, or it can be partially anonymous. So it's replaced with an artificial identifier in the various logs, or it can be fully anonymous and there's no way you can find out who the end user is. But all of these are taken care of, and you have choices within the templates, within the reporting environment, and so on and so forth. And all you have to do to establish this Security Reporter environment is by basically enabling Security Reporter on the on-premise device. Obviously have the appropriate license in place, and then visiting the Security Reporter web portal, going in there, registering the device, setting it up, setting reports, setting data transfer, log options, and so on and so forth, and the level of anonymity, and then off you go. This one is just showing licensing for the previous USG and ZireWall family. It's just as an example of how Security Reporter can be added to the historical, slightly older devices. As I said earlier on, in the new devices, the USG Flex and the ATP, any bundled license comes with a 1-year Security Reporter license up front. And then nearly there, before we come to the end, sorry, it's overrun time a little bit. One of the things that is pretty obvious to most people is that a network security device is critical. And hence, to my mind, what I'm doing is I'm explaining to my resellers, i.e. you guys and girls at the end of the phone, if that device goes down, that business stops functioning. We have a 4-year next business day uplift for gateways, switches, and wireless LAN. It's for a gateway, don't quote me, but it's about £35 to £40 at most, for 4 years next business day warranty uplift. To my mind, because of the significance of a network security device, and I'm not even doing this to sort of, business reasons to make money, it's just common sense to supply this option by default. So basically not an option, if that makes any sense. The link here that might be useful, obviously I've just touched on the fact that the USG Flex family will be Nebula manageable around about the March time. So that will be our slightly sort of longer term replacement to the NSG. And going forward further into the future, obviously the USG Flex family is on newer hardware, faster CPUs, more memory, more capabilities, so that Nebula security related features will be able to grow and be developed with the USG Flex. So that's something to look forward to. Now I will stop speaking. I will have a look if there's any questions. I will hang around if anybody needs anything. Just thought I'd also mention, if any of you are in the sort of MSP space or wish to consider it, we've got this MSP Evolve program. It's still on. It started early part of last year, but we're going to keep it going because we've had a lot of interest in IT resellers that obviously understand that services for a lot of you is the way forward. So the MSP program is still out there. You can go to the MSP website, apply, and that shows you all the benefits and the reasons for doing it. So thank you very much indeed, everybody. I hope you're all well. Please stay safe and well, and let's hope that things slowly improve throughout the country and other countries. I will go back to sitting here, and if anybody's got any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.